This is the Biz News Podcast, one-on-one conversations with experts in business and personal development.
Hit down on the ball. Countless tennis coaches have made that plea to their students in countless tennis lessons. Coaches know it takes more than properly whacking a ball to win a match, and Rusty Komori knows that and a lot more, proven by his boys' varsity tennis teams winning an unprecedented 22 consecutive state championships, a national record that still stands. Mr. Komori now coaches not students, but executives. He's host of a televised series in Hawaii and is author of 3 books. He joins us for this episode of Bizgnus Interviews. Rusty, when you've got a client, somebody who's good, perhaps really, really good, how do you determine if they can move on to greatness?
Well, Douglas, we've all heard the term high achievers before. And in my new book, Superior, I invented the term superior achievers because there's a difference. I want to coach people to become high achievers. But once they do, I want to coach them to become superior achievers. And there's a tremendous difference between good, great, and then superior. When I meet with a lot of CEOs every week, and if I meet with a CEO, they'll tell me, hey, Coach Rusty, I read your books, all 3 of them. I'm like, terrific. And then I'll meet with another CEO and they'll tell me, hey, Coach Rusty, I read your books 3 times each. That's a superior achiever, just as an example, because there's a difference.
So you can tell that somebody hasn't quite reached their top level, but how do you push them, go on to get to that level of excellence?
Yeah, so when I was coaching my tennis teams, one of the concepts that I would focus on is don't practice until you get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. You don't work on something until you barely get it. You work on something until you own it, until it becomes a part of you and something that you do, and then it becomes your identity. So all of us, we're all capable of doing so much more than we think we're capable of doing. And all of us are capable of achieving so much more than we think we're capable of achieving. So going from great to superior is that little extra.
What stops people? Is it some sort of psychological thing that keeps them from wanting to reach that top level?
Yeah, sometimes it's psychological. Sometimes they think that they hit their maximum potential. But then I'll look at and see what they do, whether it's professionally at work or personally at home, and I'll highlight things that they can improve. And these little 1% situations will really achieve remarkable results. And if you just commit to some of these little daily improvements, that's how you can really achieve superior excellence.
That's what I guess you call the 1% principle.
Yes, definitely.
And how do you achieve those 1% increments? Give us a couple of examples.
Yeah, so how can we be 1% better today than we were yesterday? How can I improve 1% on a weakness? How can I improve 1% on a strength? How can I add 1% more knowledge? These are just little things. I mean, how can I eat 1% healthier? How can I exercise 1% more? And when you do these little things, for example, Douglas, if you run 1 lap around a track one day, and then the next time you get out there, you run 1 lap and 1/4. And then the next time you run 1 lap and a half, pretty soon you'll work your way up to running 1 mile. And then even running a marathon becomes a possibility. So how did it happen? It all happened because of the 1% principle.
Well, you say you found, 3 secrets for building what you call championship leadership. I'm going to go right to the bottom here and pull this rug out and say, What are those three secrets? Tell them now.
Yeah, that's great. So I refer to these as the three C's. And the three C's of leadership is choices, communication, and culture. So, for example, with choices, um, I know I get that question where people say, how do you achieve greatness? Well, I share with them that greatness is a choice. Excellence is a choice. Courage, kindness are choices. Positivity, perseverance, resiliency are choices. Self-discipline is a choice. Self-discipline leads to habits, which lead to results and success. So I try to highlight, how can you make better choices for you as a leader? And how can you help your team choose better choices for themselves? So the second C, communication, I know that there's four situations that cause the most problems in all of our lives. And I refer to these four situations as the four misses: miscommunication, misunderstanding, misperception, and misinformation. And I try to train companies to avoid the four misses, because if you don't, you're going to go off on these tangents with your coworkers or clients. And some of these relationships might be damaged and they might not ever be fully repaired. All the while, you're wasting time from taking the time away that you're trying to achieve the goals that you want to achieve for your organization. So it's imperative to really be proactive in avoiding the four misses. Now, the third C, culture, when you're number one in sports or number one in business, I mean, the spotlight is on you. I always share with successful teams that you can do 99 things right. If you do one wrong thing, then everyone's only going to remember that one wrong thing. So we can never do that one wrong thing. That's just how it is when you're in the spotlight, when you're number one. Everyone else wants to get to where you are. It's a privilege, but there comes a big responsibility that you can never do that one wrong thing. So if you focus on choices, have clear and open and honest communication, and you really have a superior culture of excellence, that is the superior leadership of success.
So it is, what you say makes so much sense. I'm surprised the whole world hasn't adopted it already.
Yeah, I try to keep things really simple and clear, Douglas. And, you know, one of the things that I've done with my teams in tennis and with business teams now is I'll say that we need to focus on controlling three things. I need you to control your thoughts, your mouth, and your hands. If you can control what you think, what you say, and what you do, you have a great chance of controlling your destiny. And something simple like that, when we highlight it in that way, it's powerful. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm trying to bring awareness to these simple things because I want every business team to have simplicity and clarity in order to really keep their organization moving forward in a healthy way.
Let's go back in time and find out, why did you switch to consulting and encouraging and coaching executives from tennis people?
Yeah, so I was the head coach for the Punahou School boys varsity tennis team for 22 years, and we were fortunate to win 22 consecutive state championships. And the media had shared that that's the longest, most perfect state championship streak in the United States in all sports, a perfect 22 out of 22. And through those years, a lot of my players' parents are CEOs and business owners, and they would be telling me, hey, Coach Rusty, you need to write a book. You need to share what you're doing with your teams. And through those years, I'm thinking, me write a book? I don't think that'll ever happen. But once we went for our 22nd consecutive championship, I was thinking to myself, is there something bigger or greater that I could do to maybe help all students or all schools or all sports teams or businesses or families, because parents are leaders. So Doug, I went from the top of coaching sports down to basically nothing to try to start something different. And when I wrote that first book, Beyond the Lines, I knew that I would be getting hired to do keynote speakings and executive coaching and leadership and culture building with so many businesses and organizations, because there's so many common threads in leadership and teamwork and building relationships, whether you're in sports or business. And that's really what I love doing now, is really taking my system and the concepts globally.
How tough was it getting your new business off the ground?
Not tough at all. I think a lot of people, a lot of business leaders, CEOs, and other executives, they knew who I was and the streak that we had done nationally and even internationally. And a lot of businesses, they have success. They reach the top of the mountain. The challenge for them now is, how do you sustain success? How do you defend that mountain? So there's a lot of leadership books out there about achieving success, but my books are one of the rare ones that really talk about how to sustain success. And that's what they really want. They want those secrets about, how do we sustain success? How do we go from great to superior, as I call it?
How can people get in touch with you? I suspect a website.
Yeah, my website is rustykomori.com. So RUSTYKOMORI.com. And my books are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And yeah, I'm trying to literally inspire the world, Doug.
Well, Rusty, what would you like to inspire next? A thought that we haven't developed?
Well, I just want people to really explore their true potential, whether it's professionally or personally. I want everyone to try to achieve peak performance for themselves, and to really help people around them achieve peak performance for themselves. And you might achieve peak performance sometimes. Well, the most elite individuals and the most elite teams, they seem to exhibit peak performance all the time. So that's the only way that you can really be at that superior level and to really sustain success. I mean, winning one championship in sports is hard. Winning a repeat or a three-peat is extra hard. How do you stay there for 10 years, 20 plus years? Well, that's what I love doing, is really helping people explore their potential in everything that they're trying to accomplish.
You've been listening to the Biz News Podcast. We welcome your input. Send your email to editor@bizgnus.com. That's BIZGNUS.com. Thanks for listening.